This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello, boys. Well, let's get back to it.
Britain's weather chaos will deepen this weekend as a cold weather alert is activated and temperatures are set to fall to minus 6 degrees centigrade amid a major ice risk on saturated ground. A cold weather alert.
Warning, warning.
Not a warning, an alert. 40 days of continuous rain has brought flooding misery to towns and villages across the UK. And that bell that you're hearing is 40 days and nights of continuous rain. What does that remind you of? It rings a bit of a bell, don't it? Sounds a bit biblical. We're going to need a bigger ark. While more settled conditions are on the way this weekend, it will be significantly colder as the mercury drops to minus 4 degrees centigrade in rural southwest England tomorrow and minus 6 in rural areas of Shropshire. Wherever that is. The UK Health Security Agency has issued a cold weather alert covering the whole of England, valid from 9 a.m. tomorrow, that is the morning, until 12 p.m, which I've got no idea whether that's noon or midnight, next to Tuesday. Temperatures are likely to be below average, especially overnight, as ice forms on very wet surfaces. If you're in a car, you are advised that great care should be taken to speed up and lean on your horn if the person in front is doing below the speed limit, and drive so close that they can't see your headlights, like you're pushing them along the road. Of course, if you're in an Audi, you will already be doing this, and we appreciate your cooperation.
Thank you.
A major flood risk also continues with 302 warnings, 332 alerts, plus 13 alerts and 2 warnings from National Resources Wales, giving an England and Wales total of 649 maths fans. Police were called to the village of Sawley in Derbyshire after drivers on the nearby M1 saw cows stranded in floodwater, with 4 of the animals later confirmed dead. Poor cows. Major rivers, including but not limited to the Thames and the Trent, broke their banks. Trains on Great Western Railway and Southern Western Railway and South Eastern were blocked today due to a mixture of flooding, landslips, trees on the line, and the driver didn't show up. And some schools are closed in Wiltshire and Berkshire. In East London, 50 people were evacuated after streets turned into rivers in Hackney Wick. And 10 fire engines and 70 firefighters were called to the scene when water started racing down the banks of the canal into residential streets and ground floor flats. Not to worry, though, because it's nothing to do with fake news, climate change, it's just weather, said bloviating know-nothing numpties, parroting what they'd heard and read on right-wing propaganda outlets for the oil industry as their possessions floated out of their living room windows. Meanwhile, a political backlash grew today, with Labour accusing the government of being asleep at the wheel over flood warnings. Wake up! Oh. It's later than you think. The party wants Fishy Sunak to convene a Cobra-style task force to protect homes from further damage. But Titchy Suit Size couldn't decide on which colour of cashmere hoodie to wear for such an event, so aquamarine, eau de Nil, teal, so difficult to choose, so that meeting is off. Instead, Tetchy said that people should be reassured by the response to flooding in badly affected areas. What does he mean by that? Please disregard the evidence of your own eyes and be reassured. Speaking to broadcasters in Stockport today, the Prime Minister said he's the Prime Minister of this country. Can you believe that? Just take a moment to think about that. The Prime Minister said, I spoke to people in the East Midlands yesterday who had been affected, and talking to them about how devastating the impact of the flooding is, he said he could relate to having a vast amount of water in their house because he himself has an indoor pool. The period between July and December last year was the wettest on record as in ever. Since September, the start of the storm year, there's been 8 named storms to hit the UK, which is the highest number in a season to be named by the Met Office since it began naming them. This has turned the country into what a hydrologist called Professor Hannah Cloak out of the University of Reading described as a sopping wet sponge. which is technical talk. You'd have to be a scientist to understand what that means. Don't worry your pretty little head about it. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
OK, next 2 weeks, a fair amount of dry weather for the majority of the country, some sunny spells, a few showers, perhaps wintry in some eastern coasts, on the cold side. And then, but hang on a minute, they didn't mention the northwest. I mean, it's surely going to be wet in the northwest. I mean, you know, specifically, you know where. Well, now, let's have a look. In Glasgow, it's not raining at the moment. Pfft, rubbish. It's not going to be raining tomorrow, or Sunday, or Monday, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, or Thursday, or Friday, and it won't be raining on Sunday the 14th. It's actually going to be sunny. Sunny?
What?
And you've got an entire week of sun coming up. There appears to be something wrong with my phone. And then, for the rest of us, the last half of January, there is an increased chance of colder conditions and ice and snow. There's also the possibility of wetter conditions, at least in the south. Wetter? Well, I suppose we're going to have to take it. 0345 6060 973. Dowlin Ho says, so finally we're in an election year, probably. But what a choice we have for the next Prime Minister. One is an unprincipled, poor, bashing, greasy-haired Thatcherite. The other is fishy Sunak. Boom, boom. Hey.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't. Rishi Sunak was greeted by members of the public as he left a cafe in Stockport this morning. The Prime Minister was meeting party members and local activists at La Dolce Vita restaurant in Marple during a visit to the northwest. The assembled crowd watched in awe as the actual Prime Minister of this country scurried out to his fleet of cars, which were parked on double yellow lines, and launched himself inside before the crowd had time to tell him how much he is loved. 3 cheers for Rishi Sunak, they said. Hip hip. Boo! The location of the meeting in the Hazel Grove constituency, a marginal seat, which is currently held by the Conservatives, was not disclosed to the public. That is how popular the man and his regime are. He has to arrive at a place in secret and hurry out of the door lest he hears something that might curdle his coffee. But several people were watching as he left the cafe from the opposite side of Stockport Road, with some booing as he appeared, and others shouted, "Resign," repeatedly. And for the avoidance of doubt, that word was resign, not re-sign. Members of the public were also heard shouting, "Leave now," as the Prime Minister was actually leaving, making that bit a waste of breath. There's no point in telling him to leave if he's actually going. It came after Mr Sunak was warmly welcomed with cheers inside the cafe where he met Tory party members and local activists who had been told to warmly welcome him with cheers. The Manchester Evening News asked one of the bystanders why he booed the man. He said, "Because they've broken the country, haven't they? Public services crumbling, health services crumbling, the economy is crumbling. We've had enough of them," he said. To which the Prime Minister's spokesperson said, "Under this government, crumbling is down 36% on the previous year, which is putting more money in people's pockets, and the Labour Party is weak on crumbling, and Labour would preside over an increased crumbling of many things, which just shows you can't trust them. Vote Conservative." The Prime Minister met the new Conservative candidate for Hazel Grove at the cafe before taking questions from party members and local activists. Paul Athens will be standing for the seat at the next general election, although he might want to make other plans because at the last election, the Tory party's majority was a slender 4,423, which means that they could stand Jesus or Elvis in that seat, and they'd still get wiped out in the next election because what was said to Rishi again? Boo! Yes, that's right. Boo! Carol texts, another one bites the dust as the Tory MP Chris Skidmore quits. At this rate, there'll be no Tories left to help Sunak fight the next general election. And Ahmad from Leicester says, is there a bar or a level seat to attain before you are considered to become an MP? Or can even someone on a par with, with Johnny Mercer apply? Apparently so, yeah. But only if you want to pick fights with television personalities. That part's very important. If you don't wish to do that, then don't even consider applying. I mean it.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
What number are you calling from?
0345 6060 973. Daniel from Wigan says, after a wasted evening doom scrolling, I've concluded that Neil the Seal off your Twitter feed would be a more effective leader than Fishy Sunak. Neil the Seal. Yeah, that's a pretty good little video. Everybody else is complaining that Twitter has turned into some sort of repository for Nazi, not nasty, although nasty would fit, Nazi thoughts. I don't see any of that. I just see cute puppy dog and pussycat videos with the occasional seal thrown in for good measure. And if you follow me on Twitter, then you'll be able to see that. This text says, it's nearly 4 years. Can anybody see those sunny uplands yet? Hang on a minute. Let me just peer out the window.
No.
No. Not yet. No. Gonna Hove interview any day now. I betcha. 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 I mean, they promised us. They wouldn't lie about a thing like that, would they? I mean, they don't take us for numpties, do they?
We've got a few idiots in our party.
In their party, yes, but not people who vote for them. Not people who vote for them. Adam from Slough says, I started compiling my A to Z for this year, and I already have a list a mile long of death and destruction. It's been less than a week. I've compiled that book, by the way. The book is ready, and it's sort of sitting on a computer in the cloud somewhere. Don't ask me what that means, because I have absolutely no idea. But it's being, I think the technical term is chunked. It's being chunked up into bite-sized bits, which will be formulated into a book, and then they press it, and I've got absolutely no idea what happens, but it will be available hopefully this weekend. My sort of recounting of the stupidest thing. Oh, there were so many stupid things happened. Way too many to fit into a book, but I think you get the measure of the year, and the A to Z that as compiled over the Christmas shows, that will be in the end of it as well. I'm thinking of calling it Perfectly Normal for a Well-Run Country. It fits in, don't it? If you follow me on Twitter, again, I'll point you in the right direction, but it will be available on I can't tell you the name of the website, but I can tell you that it rhymes with Amazon. Merthyr Tydfil, Jeff.
Well, hey.
How's that new year working out for you so far, Jeff?
Well, I've had a bit of a shock today.
Have you?
This guy Skidmore. Now, there's an interesting character. A conservative. He's been in Bristol, a Bristol constituency since 210. He gets involved in the committee, climate change
since
and all
210. So he's almost 2,000 years old. God.
Yeah,
that must be a pretty safe seat he's got there.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, he's been around for 14 years for a Conservative. That's a long time.
Yeah.
And he's resigned because he feels that in the giving of licenses to get into the North Sea for more oil is totally against what he's been finding out since he's been on the Climate Committee. And he feels that he has no alternative but to resign. A Conservative with a conscience? A Conservative with some sort of honour?
His seat near Bristol has a Conservative majority of 11,000 odd, but was previously held by Labour from 1992 to 2010. So I would expect that is a majority that will get overturned at the next election, and he'd be out on his ear in a matter of months anyway.
Well, to be fair to the guy, you got to. Yeah, I know all that, but to suddenly turn around and say, right, I've had enough of this show. I mean, come on, you've got to give the guy his due.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's like he's just been introduced to the party that he represents. I mean, this is not news that they're into drilling and doing whatever it is that the oil companies would wish them to enact. I mean, how can he be surprised by that? Well, he's just woken up. Hey, wake up. It's later than you think.
It certainly is. But the fella, this guy, okay, I don't know who he is. Okay, no, nothing at all about him. He suddenly comes into a Conservative doing this.
Yeah.
Don't forget, he's given up a year's pay. Hang on, there are...
Well, that supposes that he's not going to another job. I mean, does he have another job? How many other jobs does he have? Is it 0 or 20? I mean, you just don't know.
Can you find out?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll do that straight away, Jeff. I'll have a full report on your desk first thing in the morning. Homework? But, sir, it's the weekend. All right, thanks a lot, Jeff. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Mitch from Belvedere says, regarding the honours list, so Truss gave out an honour for every 4 days that she was in office. Every 3 days if you take off the days that we had in mourning for the late Queen. She has no shame. You got no shame, Liz?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Any bets on Dominic Cummings receiving a gong after his meeting with Tichy regarding the Tories' upcoming election strategy, which, if it did happen, would demonstrate perfectly the privileges of integrity, professionalism and accountability?
This government will have integrity, professionalism.
And it doesn't really matter what the third one is, because the first two are just not true. Integrity. You know what's not true when he says that it is true. This government will have integrity. I mean, the nerve of the man. I wonder what's inside the brain of somebody like that. I mean, what actually goes on a day-to-day basis? Because he must know that he's deeply hated by practically everybody in this country. Well, I'll give you an indication. Byline Times had a survey conducted, and people were asked, do you believe that Rishi Sunak's administration is very honest? Guess what percentage of people agreed with the statement, Rishi Sunak's administration is very honest? Go ahead and guess. I double dare you, my glamorous assistant. Guess what percentage of people who expressed a preference said that Rishi Sunak's administration is very honest?
There's always 1%.
There's always 1%. Is the right answer. It was...
And 1%.
1%. I mean, did they mishear the question? 1% of those who expressed a preference claimed they thought that Rishi Sunak's administration was very honest. Why? What is it about the stick insect of mendacity that they trust so? Is it his ability to lie his face off while giving us those puppy dog eyes, those hurt little puppy dog eyes like he just pooped on the carpet? The Prime Minister last year claimed that he was delivering on his promise to restore integrity and professionalism and accountability to Downing Street. He said that out loud.
Yeah.
However, a poll conducted by pollsters We Think for Byline Times... That's a terrible name. That's a terrible name for a company. We Think. OK, you don't want a company that starts with the letter W for a start. Are there any companies that start with the letter W? I bet... W. Westinghouse. OK, give you that one. Any others? W. Wimpy. OK. But Wimpy is a pretty bad name for a company as well. I mean, come to think of it. I mean, it's the first syllable is wimp. Who decided on that name? Not many others. W is not a good letter to start the name of a company with, because it's a bit, you know, it's a bit like, bleh. It's a bit soft and bleh. Anyway, this company called We Think. I cannot believe how bad that is. We Think. Anyway, they're called We Think. They're pollsters, and they did a survey for Byline Times at the end of December, and the results suggest that Titchy suit size has a very long way to go to convince voters that he is actually delivering on his promise of integrity, professionalism and accountability. Asked to what extent, if at all, they would describe the current government as being honest or corrupt, 57% of voters said they would describe them as being corrupt. 1% were willing to describe the government as being very honest. Who are these people? 11% described them as quite honest. Well, that's damning with faint praise, isn't it? Quite honest. I mean, that means crooked, doesn't it? I mean, if you knew somebody who was quite honest, would you leave your wallet with them? Would you leave your dog with them? Oh, but they're quite honest. I think the bar's been set quite low. I wonder why that is.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
I mean, this country's gone to hell in a handcart after you-know-who took over, didn't it? Yeah, you. It is precisely his fault, because think of who it was before him. I mean, you might not have liked her. Or him, in fact, before him. But you know what? Excise him, her. You might not have liked her, Mrs. M, but at least she seemed to be, you know, a fairly decent person, didn't she? I mean, she did Tory things, of course, but she seemed like a person that you would leave, that you could contemplate leaving a small child with for an hour in an emergency. No? But the rest, I mean, certain individuals...
Yeah. Wait a minute.
They would have tried to decide how they could monetise it. They would have flogged it off. Oh, well, it was here a moment ago. Paw! Even among Conservative voters, just 4% said that they would be willing to describe the Conservative government as being very honest. 4% of Tory voters. Oh, it is over, fishy. And this is echoed by voters' response to the Prime Minister's claim that the COVID inquiry last month, at the COVID inquiry, that he was unable to recover any of his WhatsApp messages from the time of the pandemic. Whoopsie doodle. According to the poll, just 23% of voters believed his excuse for failing to provide the messages, compared with 77% who said... Liar! But they just tough it out, don't they? I mean, if you didn't like that lie, just wait a minute, we've got 30 others in the back. We'll be hosing you down with them. It's all so what would Donald Trump do? If you didn't like that lie, just wait. I got plenty more. I'm going to make your head spin. You won't know whether you're facing up or down. Just keep pummeling people with misinformation, and eventually they'll just give up and believe you, just to make the noise stop. Separate polling conducted for Byline Times by We Think, still a bad name, confirmed the broad anti-politics feeling among the public. I wonder why that is.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
Yeah, maybe it's the great big greedy nincompoop. He's ruined this country. For his own ends, for his own amusement, and you know, like, and for all that monetary value he's availed himself of. 70% of voters say they're inclined to believe that politicians in Westminster are in it for themselves. 70% now. Not just Tories, all of them. All politicians are in it for themselves, compared to just 12% who believe that they are devoted to serving the British people. Wow. I mean, we should just take a pause for a moment and just think about that. Just contemplate where we've got to. 70% of us voters now are inclined to believe that all politicians in Westminster are in it for themselves. Any idea why, Bodge?
I
can't comment on that. Blah, blah. Asked whether they believed another Conservative government would make their life better, 16% thought that it would. Well, you know, based on how great the last 14 years have been. 48% said it would make it worse, and 36% they said they had no comment. They didn't know. They're still making their mind up. Give us another 14 years and we'll see how we do. Asked how they felt about the outcome of the general election, 47% said they felt hopeful compared to 30% who said they felt fearful, and 22% said that they felt apathetic. Apathetic? Are you not enraged? Wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Right, so what are we doing?
Gibbon, we are doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I am doing a podcast with Carol McGiffin, and it comes back on Monday. And it's going to be twice a week now, so we need double the amount of dilemmas. Do you have a problem that you would like the experts to solve? Well, send it to an expert then. Or you could send it to me and Carol, and we'll do our best. No, seriously, we are doing our best. The email address to send it to is nickandcarol@global.com. We're taping on Sunday, so if you've got a problem, a dilemma of some sort that you would like us to solve, then please send it to nickandcarol@global.com. We need your problems so that we can solve them. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Bermondsey, Lavinia Grace.
Oh, hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm super, thanks for asking.
Lovely, lovely. Well, what I'd like to say to you, okay?
Yes.
What's happening out there, I can't believe what's going on, because...
Where?
Outside.
Outside?
What's happening? I need to tell you this, because it's absolutely terrible.
I'm
Nick,
on the edge of my seat.
Right. Well, what's happening?
I'm not really. I'm sort of relaxing back a bit, but we can pretend for the purpose of this conversation that I'm, eager to find out. Go ahead, lay it on me, baby.
Well, what it is,
yes.
I like to warn you and all.
Warning.
The LB.
Warning.
Yes.
Yeah, I like to warn everybody, all
people,
lovely,
all of the
listeners,
people of the world,
because it's getting very, very cold.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to be careful of our coats on our back. Because what's happening now, since the Conservative has been in, things have got so absolutely bad that people are demanding your coat off your back.
Yeah, with menaces.
I'm talking about thugs.
Yeah, you're not talking about people who man coat checks in restaurants. That's not what you mean.
No, I'm talking about your coat.
Yeah.
So the colder it gets, we're going to wrap up. But what I want everybody to know,
yes,
even if you've got a puffer jacket or any
what jacket?
sort of thermal, sort of like a puffer jacket, something
puffer,
warm.
Right?
You know, like a puffer jacket or something warm. You need to be extra vigilant and careful, because they're so desperate, Nick. They want to take your coat off you.
Yeah, I would leave your coat at home if I were you.
Yeah, so what do we wear? What do we wear, Nick?
Do what the Newcastle people do. Just wear a light T-shirt.
Yeah, but what happens if it's absolutely freezing?
Well, then, I don't know, wear a dark-coloured T-shirt.
Yeah, but we're going to be freezing, Nick. What are we going to do?
Yeah, you don't want to be wandering around in one of them. What's the coat that they like? The North. Apparently they like North Face. That's the jacket that's got the name on the front of it and on the back. In case there's any doubt in your mind about which jacket to nick, you can see the jacket's brand from the front and the back. That always seemed a bit over the top to me. Why does it need to be on the front? Well, why does it need to be on the jacket at all? Why do these companies insist that you walk around like a blooming billboard for them, for nothing? You've got to pay for the privilege of branding, of publicising their brand. What's that about?
Well, the thing I want to say to you, Nick,
yes,
is that one of my friends a week ago wasn't even wearing an expensive jacket. It was a normal jacket, like a warm sort of jacket.
And these thugs asked them to go back and get a more expensive one, and then they nicked it. No,
this wasn't even an expensive jacket.
Right.
This is how desperate it's getting. What I want to say is that they're taking your coat off your back.
Your back, yes. That's right.
And this is how desperate the people are now.
Leave your coat at home and leave your umbrella at home because...
So what do we do, Nick? What do we do?
You wouldn't want to get it wet.
What do we do, Nick? What shall we do?
I think you should do like I do, Lavinia, and just wear the frayed rubbish jacket I've had for the past 30 years.
That's what I'm doing, Nick.
Nobody in their right mind would want to steal that off me.
No, exactly, Nick. Exactly. I totally agree with you. But what I'm actually trying to say to you, things have got so absolutely crazy out there ever since the Conservatives have been in.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Everything is sort of crumbling.
Yeah.
People are taking your coat off your back. How sort of bad can it get? It can't get any badder than that, can it?
Oh, gird yourself, Lavinia. I've got some bad news. It can get way worse than that. But appreciate the warning. I would just cancel all of your appointments.
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Yeah, the kids are taking the coat off your back. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, they're only taking it off other kids' backs. But, once that supply dries up, then presumably they'll be after us oldsters too. So don't wear none of them North Face jackets. And I'm sure it's an excellent product, but, until this... I would imagine it's just a fad, isn't it? It's one of those fads that the kids do, or it's one of those fads that the newspapers pick up on. Perhaps people nick each other's coats all the blooming time, and it's just it only becomes newsworthy for a moment, and then the papers tire of it, as they will very quickly, because how interesting is a story about coats? And then they won't talk about it anymore, and you may think that it's not happening anymore, but it is. Yeah, and what's that other one that they like? Canada ducks or goose feathers or something like that. One of them. I can spot the logo a mile away, as can your local hoodie. And they'll probably take your hoodie and all. Yeah, what a state we're in, eh? I mean, you can't even wear a decent... I mean, with the greatest respect, North Face is not like a luxury product, is it? It's just, you probably buy it in... Sports Direct. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's just a high street brand, for crying out loud. It does not cost thousands of pounds. It's like £100, if that. And they're stealing that. That's where we are in this country now. I mean, it's not like you can't waltz around with a diamond Rolex for fear of getting it nicked. Well, of course you blooming well can't, but it's not Saudi Arabia. But you should be able to wear a cheap-ish coat and feel fairly confident that you'll be able to wear it back home. You won't come to the attention of some numpty. But apparently not. Mitch from Belvedere says, regarding the honours list, so no, that's the one that ends, has she knows shame?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Darren in London says, I loved your A to Z shows. When will the book be out? And I've already made the 2024 list. I hear this every year. People are, they're making the list already. And the other one is not even out yet, but it will be out this weekend. Follow me on Twitter and I'll point you to the right direction. It's a good one this year. It was without doubt the biggest response I've ever had on this station to the A to Z. It was just, I literally could not get through all of the calls. And I tried. Really hard. Every night I left people on the board waiting to get on the show. The show wasn't long enough or I wasn't fast enough. It's probably my fault. And I apologise.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up.
I mean, I am so sorry. You
don't know how
sorry I am.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But all of the list, and it's the biggest list we've ever had, that's in the back of the book. It'll come out. I'm seriously thinking of calling it Perfectly Normal in a well-run country or for a well-run country. Not totally sure about that, but leave it with me. Tower Hamlets. Hello, Stephen.
Hi there, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Just want to say, good show as normal.
Cheers.
Your last caller, I thought, was quite hilarious. Him laughing and him crying over the weather. I mean, I used to actually I spent 10 years living up in the northeast, and the winters there were like -3 when I was living in Richmond. When I was in Middlesbrough, it was like -10.
Yeah.
The last winter there was -8, so it's like -18. And I could walk around, in thin coats. And
Of course.
I don't,
Because
and,
you're not a soft southerner, Stephen.
Well, I was born in the south.
Like I said, even soft southerners, when they're surrounded by manly men, can go out in just the thinnest of shirts and be perfectly warm, even if they've got snow up to their eyeballs.
Well, I used to work in Gateshead. I used to go drinking sort of now and again in Newcastle, especially in winter, and you'd see women in, almost belts. And think it'd be like -5.
But by belts, you mean that's all they were wearing, just a belt?
Tiny little skirts. And thinking, how the hell are you keeping?
Because they're manly men too, and don't you say otherwise?
Well, most of them have moustaches anyway, probably.
Oh, a little bit over the line there, Stephen.
Well,
unless they
know,
did, in which case that's perfectly
night.
okay. If it's just descriptive, that's just fine.
That's my point.
Okay. All right, that's your point. Okay, excellent work there, Stephen. He delivered his point and then left. Knew when time was up and said, "Arrivederci, I'm leaving." Will in the west coast of Scotland texts, "England has west coast of Scotland weather. Suck it up, or give it back." Yeah, you want to delight in that. I don't know what you people in Glasgow are going to wear for the next couple of weeks, but do you have anything to wear when it's not raining? Dig in the back of your wardrobe. You might find something there, something to wear out if it's not raining, because apparently it won't be raining for 2 weeks. It's a sensation.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hot air. H-O-T-A-I-R.
This text says, "I have been doing my driving duty this week during the storm. I've used my bumper to remove 6 cyclists from the traffic and an elderly lady who didn't cross the road quickly enough. Other drivers appreciated my efforts by sounding their horns as I ploughed them down. No thanks needed, it was my civic duty," says that chap who was driving with one hand and texting with the other. Well, Range Rover drivers can multitask. Any fool know that. Lewisham, hello, Tara. Tara.
Hello, Nick. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Tara.
It's not too late for that.
What's it like being named after a house?
Sorry?
Oh,
sorry, Tara. Yeah, well, that is actually where my name comes from. So, yes.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Huh.
So, come on.
Frankly, my dear.
You do not take the mickey on this show at all, You don't give a damn. I know. Yeah. I know.
I saw that film.
Nor
I was waiting for that line all the way through. It took like about 6 hours. It was painful. On and on and on it went. And all I wanted him to say was, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And he said it right at the end of the film.
Well, isn't it great these days? You can fast forward.
I suppose so, yeah.
So.
Or just not watch it at all. Better.
Well, there is that because we all know how it ends.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I have some very sound and safe advice to a lady who is calling worried about they're going to take the cakes off your back.
Yeah.
So do exactly as I do, almost all of the time. Stay inside, listen to LBC, whatever you're doing, and wear your coat round the front. It's a much warmer way of doing it.
Wear it round the front?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means rather than putting it round your back, you basically have it over your tongue kind of
your
thing.
frontal area.
Rather than your back, your frontal area.
So it buttons up at the back?
Or just don't even button it up. You need to leave yourself a little bit of leeway.
What, like a hospital gown?
Disgusting.
Oh, nobody wants to see that, Tara.
Well, no one else is seeing it. Nobody else is missing very much, Nick. I promise you.
But of course, if you wear your coat inside, then you won't feel the benefit when you go out.
Well, this is true, but then, of course, one can wear clothes underneath, so it makes it a little bit better. But actually, I'm completely serious in it. I am wearing a coat at the moment.
One can wear a coat. No one says one in Lewisham.
Well, I wasn't born and bred in Lewisham.
Right. Well, you should have said.
Oh,
You're
Nick,
slumming it in Lewisham at the moment. Yeah.
Well, some of us don't always get choices out of these things, Nick. Thanks for you. Where's your button for thanks very much for the grain or something like that?
Oh, I haven't got anything like that.
Thank you.
Nothing like
that'll
that.
do.
Yeah.
So there we are.
Don't go out, wear your coat indoors and listen to LBC all the time, and then no one will ever steal the coat off your back, unless they come into your house and, because they
Well,
know
it wouldn't be off your back then, would it?
it would be off your front, as we have previously described in gruesome detail. That's right. OK, excellent work there, Tara. Thanks for that. 03... These are just helpful hints. I hope you're writing this stuff down. Simon in Montrose says, I see that David Soul has died, aged 80. I will always remember him from Salem's Lot, the 1980s TV adaptation of the Stephen King novel. It's a cracking horror movie which still gives me the heebie-jeebies, says Simon. Well, if the junior doctors weren't on strike, you'd be able to go to the hospital and get an ointment for the heebie-jeebies, an unguent, all over. David Soul used to come into the pub that I used to go to in Kentish Town. I wonder if it's still there. It did great food. This big old place. I think it used to be a theatre up Junction Road. And I'll be sitting in there and I'll be thinking, oh, blimey, there's that bloke from The Thing. What's his name from that show? Yeah, David Soul out of Starsky and Hutch. He slid over a car's bonnet in order to get up the front door. And now he's shuffled off the conveyor belt of life. What happens to us all eventually? Oldbury. Hello, Ranges.
Hi, Nick. You okay?
Yes, good, thanks.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, before Christmas, remember when I was telling you about the horror film, Salem's Lot?
Oh, yeah.
The one with James Mason in and you.
James Mason.
Yeah. Okay. When you say what Rishi Sunak says, he's going to lie, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely everything. It's not true if he says it's true.
This government.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows he can't have an election next January. He's going to have it done before then. So he says, I've got a lot of work to do, yeah? So what odds are you giving that the election's going to be in May now? Because he's obviously lying. He's trying to hint towards autumn.
Right, well, that was my first thought, that he said he's working on the assumption that it's going to be an autumn election. Yeah. So I thought, well, that's obviously not true, because nothing he ever says has the ring of truth about it.
Yeah. Okay, the main point I want to talk about today is the doctor strike.
Yes.
Yeah. On another presenter's show, they clip this guy going, well, you've chosen to be a doctor, now live with it. If you don't like it, go and get another job.
Yeah. Why don't you go back to where you came from?
Yeah.
Medical school.
To that person, I would say, go to college first, try and get 4 A-levels at grade A, and then get into medical school, do 7 years, and then complain. Because these kind of people, I'm not saying that presenter's right-wing, but you're fanning that kind of behaviour. Those people who have studied, are special people, Nick, aren't they?
Well, I don't know. Let's not get carried away. They're not heroes. They're not saints. They're just ordinary people who are brighter than your average person, who've decided from probably when they were children that medical profession is where they wanted to go, and then they get on that little pathway, don't they? They get the right A levels, and then they go to the right university or get the right course, and then suddenly they're doctors, wondering how they're going to afford to heat and eat.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you. I mean, last week I had an operation on my eye, a major. It took about an hour and a half for 2 doctors to do it, so it was quite a big operation. I'm well impressed with the National Health Service, the way it's struggling. But, this pay deal, it can be sorted out because, you remember the strike between Margaret Thatcher and Arthur Scargill, yeah? It was a private war. Now, this is a private war between the BMA and the government at the moment, and they're at a stalemate.
Well, I think that it's very difficult to fight an enemy, if that is what we're describing here, a war. It's very difficult for the doctors to fight the government because the government isn't actually bothered about winning the war. It just wants, I imagine, that in my addled mind, I'm thinking that the government actually just wants to continue this grievance because it allows the government to say, well, the waiting list is nothing to do with this munificent party. It's all about the lefty woke activist junior doctors. Or, as I prefer to say, doctors that don't know anything.
Yeah, but I've got a solution for them. Yeah, these doctors have persevered for the last 10 years and they're asking for paid registration, you know, get back to normal. Mm-hmm. So, you know, in my capacity as a union negotiator, as I used to be, if I offered them, 10% this year, and then, you know, reduce 8% the year after, and so on and so on. I'll bring it on over 5 years to bring them back to where they would want to go. Yes. I think they would be reasonable. And the other
but you know what? You're not talking about the same thing that I am talking about. As a union rep, Ranjit, you're citing the wrong number. You should not be talking about it as a percentage, because the percentage sounds quite big. To get from 15 to 20 is about 35% pay rise. But it's that's the number that you should be concentrating on. £15 an hour, for crying out loud. What person can you get to come around your house and fix something that's gone wrong in your home for £15 an hour? Name the trade. I dare you.
I totally agree with you, because the minimum wage is nearly £11, So you can go and stack shelves in supermarkets for £15, £16 an hour without hardly any education.
And you only need like 3 or 4 years of training to do that.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is what's happened is the gap between very low-skilled and very high-skilled jobs has closed up, But doctors, they are reasonable people. They will, if they can see an end game, where they've waited 10 years, I'm sure they'll wait another 3 or 4 years to get to £30 or £35 an hour, because that's what they need to achieve.
Well, they don't. They need to achieve 20. To get from 15 to 20 is that 35% pay rise they're asking for. It's £20 an hour, for crying out loud. That's what the government is digging its heels in on.
Yeah, but they are digging their heels because they can, like what you've just said. Because
they're playing a different game. They're not trying to beat the doctors down. They're trying to keep this thing going so that they can blame them for what ails the health service.
It's totally
they're playing a completely different game to the doctors. It's not that the government are saying, well, we can't afford this, so we're going to have to refuse that pay rise. They're not interested in solving the problem. They can't be. Otherwise, they'd have done it already.
Yeah, because the dinghy thing's all died down now. Immigration's died down, right? And everything else, right? You know, the redneck brigade, Nigel Farage has died down. This is the only thing that Sunak has got left now, right, to beat everybody up with.
Well,
and at the moment, people are falling for it.
Yeah, when the weather gets better, around about springtime, then the small boats will start coming over. And then he'll be able to stand on the beaches at Dover and point to those, probably elbowing Nigel Farage out of the way for screen time. But that's the problem that the doctors have, is that I honestly do not believe that this government have any interest in solving the problem, because the problem is in their interests. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Yeah! Dude! Don't talk to me that way. I'm the President of the United States. Don't ever talk to the President that way.
He must have had in mind that I was going to say this. Lucy in Balham says, I see that despite having 17 golf courses, Donald Trump only calls himself an amateur elite golf player. Does that explain why he likes the poorly educated?
Don't be rude.
An amateur elite golf player. I tell you what, if you want to see something scary, if you want to know where we're going this year with the American elections, there's a video that Donald Trump has just released, and I've never seen anything like it. Basically, it's a couple of minutes long, very professionally done, with a voiceover that sounds like it's coming from heaven above. And it says something along the lines of, people were scared. They needed a hero. That's why God made Donald Trump. Yeah. And it goes on and on and on like that. God brought us Donald Trump. I mean, what kind of doolally person would believe that? Would actually buy that? I'll sum the argument up for you. I mean, really? God gave you Donald Trump? You out of your minds? But, his fans will not be dissuaded. They actually believe that stuff. The stuff that's going to happen. I mean, you think that last year was bad. Full details are available in my book that's coming out this weekend. But this coming year, holy smoke. More people are going to go to the elections this coming year than at any time in the history of the human race. Did you know that? It's going to be here and in America and India, I believe, and here, there, and everywhere, baby. And the amount of misinformation, the pool of misinformation is going to get dried out. They're going to run out of lies. That's probably true. There's companies right now that are gearing up, that are offering their services to political parties, telling them that we can win this election for you just by peppering people, by hosing them down with misinformation. And it's going to be, your social media feed is going to change dramatically. And when it does, don't believe a word of it. You're going to have to really concentrate in order not to get subsumed in all that mendacity. Is it just me that knows mendacity? It was Big Daddy out of Cat in the Hot Tin Roof. Never mind. This says, hi Nick, where I live, roads were flooded as the council had not cleared the highway drains, but rest assured in the summer, thanks to the sheer incompetence of the water companies, that are likely to hosepipe bans. That's what it says. Thanks to the sheer incompetence of water companies, there are likely to hosepipe bans. I also wonder when any rivers were last dredged, but what council could afford that thanks to this shout in charge? What a country election ASAP, please, says that texter. I agree with some of the above. Winchester. Hello, Simon.
Nick.
Simon.
We've all seen the film where the girl agrees to go on a date to the disco with the ugly bloke because his good-looking best mate's going to be there.
Yeah. Are you dancing?
Yeah. Obviously that's the only reason she's gone. He thinks, scored a blinder.
Which film is that?
Well, it's just a, generic film. It's just a plot, isn't it?
Generic film. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the girl uses the ugly guy to get to his best-looking or his good-looking best mate.
I've never seen that film, but anyway.
No. But you can imagine.
No.
Well, okay. Well, so I was thinking, as I happened to view Mr. Tice on the telly this week,
mm-hmm.
and the only question anybody really was bothered with was, where's Nigel?
Right.
No one is interested in Richard Tice at all. How gutting must that be behind the scenes when you come off stage and you're thinking to yourself, they got no interest in me. All they want to know is, where's Farage?
Well, that party is a company, and they're both shareholders. So I'm sure it doesn't really matter to them one way or the other who's more popular than who's more popular out of that pair, because the popularity of either of them benefits both of them.
Well, there's not much popularity, let's face it.
I don't know. They're not doing so very badly. In fact, they're doing the left's trick of splitting their vote among multiple parties, thereby allowing the competition to romp home at a canter. So, uniquely in our recent history, the right wing are now pulling that trick. So the Tories' vote's going to get split between the Conservatives and the Reform and the monster raving Nazi Party and whoever else it is that puts up their candidacy, and thereby allowing a more possibility that Skier will be the next Dreer leader.
Well, let's just hope that after all this is over, the pop-up TV channels will disappear and the right wing will start to quieten down again.
You must be joking, Simon. That will be them in their element. The complaining on the sideline is exactly where the right-wing outlets sit and are most comfortable, because when their own party is in power, then they have to deal with the catastrophic clown show that we all can see and hear and feel and smell and squeeze. But when they're in opposition, then they can just complain and complain and complain.
But that's where they should be. That's where they need to be.
Right.
But when they get, within a whisker of actually being the decision makers, which is where I don't think that they will get to again. Not for a long, long time. Because we've had a taste of what that means. I don't know.
They've got everything on their side, apart from their record. And when they're out of power, their record will just vanish like a cloud of mist. And the public will instantly blame everything that's wrong in the country on the Labour Party, despite the fact that they haven't been in power for the past 14 years. And the right-wing, offshore, billionaire-owned, tax-avoiding press will back them up 100%. And they will just keep pounding and pounding and pounding the tiny brains of us poor dopes who pay taxes, and to inculcate the idea that what is actually wrong with this country is that the Conservatives aren't in power.
Well, listen, is Jonathan coming on tonight?
Who's that?
Jonathan in Harrow.
Oh, I've got no idea, Simon. Don't encourage him. 0345 6060 973. This says, hi, Nick. No, read that one. Phil says, my water company have just announced a hosepipe ban because the rain eased up for half an hour this afternoon. Oh, typical. And Phil says, no, I just read that one. Just read that one just now. Literally just finished reading it. Rachel in Ladbroke Grove says, have people in the midst of these catastrophic weather events been receiving the government's emergency alerts on their smartphones as promised? I don't know what kind of an emergency it is that they're reserving it for, because I haven't had any of that. I don't think anybody has. So what would actually constitute an emergency to make your phone go? 0345 6060 973. Steph in Stockport says, I'm surprised people in flooded areas wanted a visit from Tichy suit size. He wants to stop the boats, and that would be no use to anybody. You see him scurrying out of that cafe today in or near Stockport. I mean, that's just so embarrassing. They had to park his motorcade up a tiny, what looked like a one-lane road with double yellow lines on both sides, and they'd parked about 4 or 5 cars there. I mean, that's got to be against the law, isn't it? Will you ever stop this criminality? And I want to know whether he was wearing his seatbelt as well. I want picture proof. Anne in Streatham says, no, I've just literally stopped reading that one. Boats. And Greg in Cardiff says, no, Nick, I cannot believe that Richie, as so many ignorants beautifully call him, is the Prime Minister who not even the Tory membership could force on us under whatever on-the-hoof rules the party made up. The fact remains that even if they did not want him, neither did we. Yeah, that's right. He is, by any measure, an illegitimate Prime Minister and has no right to be in his position, much less deny us the opportunity to get rid of him. A dictator, in effect. Richie, you are the weakest link. Goodbye, says Greg. Let's have Sandbach. John.
The whole Conservative Party are mendacious.
Well, you'd have to say the mendacity comes with being a politician, but the current crop seem to be taking it to a different level. They've turned it up to 11.
Oh, yeah, they are ambitious, mendacious and nefarious, whatever you want to call them. They are it. And they're corrupt as well, corrupt as all hell. And I agree with, what's his name, the leader of the Labour Party. I agree with him.
With Skier?
Yeah.
Well, you agree with 99% of the people that answered a poll for Byline Times, which I was relating to you at the beginning of the show. In answer to the question, do you think that Rishi Sunak's administration is very honest? 1% said yes. One.
Jeez.
One.
I think it's been overlooked, but the Labour Party leader at Starmer is just on the right note. Get rid of cronyism, get rid of crookedness within the government, if he can, but I believe he could, and get rid of all that corruption.
Well, he could wipe the slate clean, clean-ish, and have another go at it. Certainly, he just needs to he doesn't need to come out with a massive amount of policy, because policy, as Aaron Banks famously said, if you tell people facts and so on, it's just white noise to them. That is absolutely true. We're all about feelings now, baby. Which is why I like that poster that I saw. Now, maybe I didn't see all of it, so perhaps there was more words on the poster, but there didn't need to be. And from memory, it said it was just a picture of Keir Starmer, like a long shot, not his face right up against you, so you feel like you've got his hot nostril breath all over you. But it was like a long shot, and it just said "Karma Starmer," and I think, that's about right. Just can we have a little calm? Can the adults take over for a while? Would that be possible?
And honesty.
Oh, well, let's not get
honesty.
Let's not get carried away, John. Let's small steps. One step at a time.
Can any of them lie down straight in bed?
Can you lie down straight in bed?
Can they lie down straight in bed?
Oh! It's a joke. A listener with material.
Oh no! It's an Aussie saying.
Is it?
Right. There's another one. Too small to be a cat. Too big to be a rat. It must be a snake.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a new one on me. Australian people, eh? What cards they are. Thanks a lot, John.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
I have absolutely no idea on this or any other subject. But Dan from Newbury says Skidmore was going to stand down in the next election anyway. Boundary changes meant his seat disappeared. So no great loss to him. That said, it causes a by-election for Tichy to lose. Oh, right, okay, got it. Another by-election for Tichy to lose. This text says it's all under control. Rishi is gripping it. There's no evidence that he is gripping it.
I'm gripping it.
Other than that. And the government is planning to use the migrant boats to help out the people of Tewkesbury. It's all part of the plan. I do worry that your long-held prediction of a Tory general election win will come true in the autumn. That is, if they let us have one. Yeah, I keep saying this over and over again, and it does sound ridiculous when you say it out loud. But then so did the President of the United States of America would try to stage a coup and take over the country. That sounds pretty weird too. But I would not be surprised if they cancelled the next election for our safety, for reasons that they can't actually discuss, for national security. But at this moment, it's not the best time to have it. Now, I know it sounds silly, but would you be shocked and stunned if that actually happened? And on that subject, Andy in Bristol says, I have a bet with my friend Chris on the date of the next election. He's chosen October because Rishi said it would be in the second half of the year. I think basing his choice on the words that came out of Rishi Sunak's mouth is a pretty bold move. I'm sticking with May for the same reason. Here's why I don't think it's going to be October. Because I bet, I don't know that this is true, but it doesn't, even if it's not true, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. I betcha that the same company that Donald Trump uses in order to spray misinformation about the internet will be the precise same company that the Conservative Party will try to employ to do the same job for them. I bet it's the same company. And I bet they've only got so many people and so much computer power because they're going to be spending an enormous amount of money to send billions of targeted adverts to your social media sites based on the stuff that you've looked at before, your internet searches, the things that you've bought. I mean, there's going to be the internet knows more about you than you know about you. And they did it last time for Brexit. So they're going to do it again, except the difference will be that technology has moved on enormously since Brexit. And now they've got AI.
Affirmative.
And all of this good stuff that comes with that. So I would imagine that two massive campaigns by the same company are a little bit too much to take on at the same time. So I would think that the Tories would want to do business with that company that Donald Trump is going to be hiring. Or more accurately, the Republican Party, or more accurately, the billionaires that are behind the Republican Party, and they won't want to, give them too much work all at the same time because that could lead to errors. That's why I don't think that the two elections are going to be anywhere near each other. I mean, if this makes me sound like I've lost my mind, well, so be it. It might sound like a conspiracy, like I've sort of, dived into the pool of the conspiracy theorist. That what's going on between my ears sounds like... But I'm imagining that it has a grain of truth to it. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah. I like the theory about the early elections, splitting the elections, but I disagree on one point, and that's I think that the progress of the Rwanda bill will influence his decision even more, because if he thinks he can get that through the Commons and he can get it through the Lords, and he's a chance of getting one plane off to Rwanda, I think he'll hang on, because I think he thinks, I don't agree with him, but I think Sunak thinks that getting one plane to Rwanda is a game changer. I don't think it will be, but I think he thinks so.
A game changer in what way? Because you'll get one day's great headlines, maybe two. I mean, if we're bumping up against the weekend, then that'll be it. If they get the flight off on Wednesday, then it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then that'll be it, over. And then they'll be back to where they started from on the Monday the following week.
But I think he thinks that it'll make a huge difference, but whether it's right or not, I don't know. But going back to Chris Skidmore, everyone's saying, "Oh, principled Tories, this is a really nice
it's a
guy."
revelation.
Well,
yeah.
Just think who his mates are. I mean, Kwarteng, Rav, Patel, Truss, and him wrote Britannia Unchained.
Oh my God!
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
Yeah, I totally believe you, Dominic Raab. Him and the Trust bots.
Absolutely.
Those people. Oh, Struth.
Calling the British workers the laziest skivers in the world.
Yeah.
And saying that, according to their calculations, the pension age should rise to 75. Occupational pensions are too generous. The education system's in a mess because it's not producing enough mathematicians.
Right.
But costing too much, and they should cut the budget.
Yeah.
Real nice guy, this bloke. Yeah, that's really principled.
I know. I mean, we're sorry to see you go.
Bye-bye.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
But something else that caught my eye this week.
Yeah.
I don't know whether anyone's noticed, but these new EU trade rules have come in on the 1st of January.
Yeah.
Load more in April. And if you look at the government advice on this for exporters, it says, remember the bonfire of red tape, it says these new regulations are so complex that we recommend that you use consultants in order to complete the paperwork. And please contact HMRC, who have a list of such consultants to enable you to export successfully.
Oh, well, good luck contacting HMRC. You'll be on hold forever. Your call is important to us.
This is absolute madness. Where's the bonfire of red tape? when stuff's so complicated that they've negotiated with the EU that you need a consultant to fill it in.
Yeah, it used to be a piece of cake sending stuff in and out. It's not very important for our health, wealth, and physical benefits. But Dutch flower growers are freaking out because of these new border controls that are coming in. Now, the reason why they're not in already, the reason why we actually are pretty much still part of the single market, is that to put the border controls in, as we required when we left the EU, would have meant that we'd be staring at empty shelves, that people wouldn't have the food and the fruit and veg and flowers they've got here, and just anything that is made outside of this country in Europe would be incredibly difficult to get here. So while Europe has been checking what we send them, because it's being run by grown-ups who know what they're doing, we, even now, all these years after Brexit, we still haven't been able to enact the kind of border checks that we need to keep us safe, essentially. I mean, you remember the horse meat scandal? Yeah, have a great time with your burger, if that is indeed what it is.
Well, it's even worse than that. I haven't been abroad since Brexit, but I have to go to France this summer.
Uh-oh.
And people are saying I'm now going to get fingerprinted.
Yeah.
And
your
I need
eyes
a certain
scanned.
form.
Yes.
And I need to have a certain piece of paperwork to allow me to enter the EU, which will be for up to 90 days. I'm going to have to do research on how to go to France again. Can't just drive onto a ferry and travel there. I mean, this is progress. My God.
I know. The Dutch flower growers say that you use the number of steps to import a petunia, whatever that is, has increased from 19 steps to 59 since the UK left the European Union. So for people sending flowers to this country, like I know this is a relatively unimportant thing for for our lives, but it's just indicative of the problems that are facing people who are trying to deal with trading into this country from Europe. The problems have just gone up manifold, 3 times more complicated than it used to be, which means that they just won't bother anymore. I mean, now that these controls have started to come in, and like you said, that they're going to increase in April, assuming that the government doesn't just kick it down the road again because they're too incompetent to actually give us the kind of controls that are could actually save our lives, protect us from poisons and contaminated products and all of the rest of it. The first duty of government, they're unable to do that, so they keep kicking these checks down the road and just crossing their fingers and hoping we don't all die of some horrible disease that gets imported into the country. The difficulty for European traders to do business with us in this country is about to go through the roof. It's about to be impossible for people who aren't part of massive major corporations to actually be able to be bothered or to get their heads around what it is they have to do to get stuff here. So they just aren't going to bother anymore. Why would they?
No, and something else that you hit the nail dead on the head about kicking stuff down the road. A load of legislation has been kicked back, unspecified legislation, has been kicked back to October. And they're not even saying what it is that's going to come into October, but they've kicked it back to October. I mean, we're kicking it down the road. What are you kicking down the road? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a secret. Yeah. It's just incredible what's happening in this country. I mean, every day in every way, it just seems to get worse and worse. While they parade around trying to kid on that up is down and black is white, and they're cooking the entire country on gas Mark 5.
Yeah, the cat was good there. That's the only thing you can say on the video.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
This is absolute tosh.
Thanks, Nige. You're the best. Abby in Surrey says, good evening, Nick Abbott is the 1% who believe Sunak's government is very honest, made up of his close family and friends. Well, I doubt it, because they know him. Will says, at first I thought that Rishi was at a Rocky Horror Picture Show convention until the newsreader pointed out that it was a meeting of the Conservative Party members. Is that when he went to that youth group? I couldn't believe it. He went to a youth club and was surrounded by people who haven't seen their youth in about 100 years. I mean, they were old. Presumably, nobody at that youth club, no actual youths, wanted to be seen, glad-handing Fishy Sunak. How he manages to arrive at hospitals and places like that and get himself photographed with smiling people, I don't know. I mean, do they take him around with him? Are they actually nurses? Those people who are smiling when he's handing out chocolates? That somebody else... Well, we probably bought it, didn't we? Us, the poor people who pay taxes.
The little people.
Exactly. Who are all those... and by all, I mean like the handful of smiling people that he manages to get photographed standing next to. Are they real, or do they carry them around with him in the boot? And why? Why would they want to be seen like that? I mean, I would have to assume they either are just tickled by the possibility of being famous. Get their photograph taken with somebody who is famous. Maybe get your mug in the mail the next day. But it just seems curious to me that people are willing to forget everything that the party has done to them. I mean, nurses, for crying out loud. Enemies of the people, he was describing you as. No! And then you're willing to smile for a photograph for a cheap chocolate? Mystifying. Maybe they just got caught unawares. They happen to be standing around, and here's some bloke. He looks like he's somewhat befuddled, doesn't know where he is, doesn't even know how to work a credit card. And so we'll humour him. Yeah, just take a chocolate and smile. Oh, my God, do you know who that was? But those people at the youth club that our Prime Minister showed up at in order to, I've got no idea, to assure them that everything's going very, very well. They looked so glum. Hey, Conservative Party members, why the long faces? Does he not inspire confidence? Well, Nigel says, not that Nigel, surely. Nigel says it was good news that Fishy has made it a working assumption that the election will be in the second half of the year. Makes it almost certain that it will be in May then. I would be very surprised if he went early, because what would be the point? You ain't going to bend the polls from now until then. I mean, what does he think is going to happen from now until then? Or maybe, actually, by that time they will have monetised their position to its maximum extent. And they just, they'd rather get on with earning more money, doing something else, something more interesting where you don't get yelled at in the street and, plotting their return. I'm sure that most of them, not all of them, of course, because all of them have been, not all of them, back up, some of them have been elevated above any possibility of earnings that they might have had they not become an MP. I mean, some of them have absolutely zero chance for the rest of their lives of earning 89 grand or whatever it is now, plus expenses. I mean, there's just not a hope. But the other ones, the Lord Snooties of the Conservative Party...
I don't know anything.
I mean, the amount of money that they could make not being an MP, I'm sure that they are going to lay the ground for their continued success and, having cash poured upon them... And then just swan off to, enjoy themselves for a little while, out of the public eye a little bit, for a while. Take holidays, that kind of thing. Get payback from the people that they've set up in life, while they had the chance. And by May, they probably could have made a good fist of absolutely ruining any chance that an incoming Labour government could, affect something positive in the short term by nicking the wheels and taking the distributor and pouring sand in the petrol tank, metaphorically speaking. Leicester, hello, Paul.
Oh, hi there, Nick. Nothing greatly exciting. I just wanted to say thanks for the heads up on the Donald Trump video, which I hadn't been aware of prior to hearing you, and I had a quick look at it, and
have you
first
ever
word that came to mind was excruciating.
Yeah. Have you ever seen anything like it in your life?
Oh, just, well, as you said, trying to get into somebody's mind that would find that, I'm just lost for words. A couple of glasses of red wine don't help, actually. But,
actually, I think they probably would. I would imagine being coshed about the head would help as well. At least it would take your mind off.
Oh, it's just beyond belief, really.
It is. I mean, the it of it is America was in danger, and so God made Donald Trump. And they're not kidding about this. This is all done in great seriousness with, heroic images of Donald walking towards the camera, looking like... And Donald worked a 40-hour week by Tuesday and then did another 80 hours. That's why God made Donald Trump. It's unbelievable what they've done.
Don't forget the best bit, which was right at the end, and then you'll find him in church. At the end of the week.
That's right, because that's where all the hot girls are, in church. Yeah, that's why he goes.
Probably.
He went once because he heard that, and then he never went again. He's very, very angry about that. He couldn't find any of them.
Anyway, yes, just thanks. So one side issue, by the way, we've spoken in the past about merino garments.
Oh, yeah.
In this sort of weather, which I've used for probably about the last 12 years or something.
Yeah.
Not all at the same time.
No.
Continuously. But I've recently switched to cashmere as well. Not cashmere.
Cashmere?
Cashmere, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I can't read my own writing.
Da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. Cashmere.
Rock and roll!
Yeah.
Again, if you go on a certain...
I'm way ahead of you, Paul.
Website, then you can get them for half reasonable prices.
Merino wool and cashmere underclothes. I've doubled them up. Extra warmth.
Yep. Anyway, that was all.
Thanks a lot, Paul. 0345 6060 973. Your husband is trawling the pews for hot babes, Melania.
I don't care.
She's actually not that bothered. Yeah, he's a godly man, Donald Trump. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which bit of the Bible is your favourite, he was asked. Well, all of them. Yeah. Well, I'm convinced. This says, James cleverly has made a New Year's resolution not to let his mouth get him into trouble this year. He's also vowed that no boats will cross the Channel. The Conservative Party. Only they have that old-fashioned integrity, which is a South Park thing. Andy in Stafford says, hi, Nick, I'm sending you one of the new Royal Mail stamps featuring the Spice Girls.
Oh, no.
You're kidding. There are Royal Mail stamps featuring the Spice Girls. Why? I mean, the Spice Girls. I never really understood that. I didn't really understand. I mean, that whole, tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I really, really, really want a zig-a-zig. That, first of all, it makes no sense whatsoever at all. I really, really want a zig-a-zig-R. What does that mean? Does it mean something that I'm unaware of? Is it like code for something? I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I really, really, really want a zig-a-zig-R. Well, I mean, that's really building it up, isn't it? Because they said 3 times that they were going to tell us what they wanted, and then what they actually wanted was a zig-a-zig-R. Am I saying something that I shouldn't be saying on the radio? Is that like code for something rude? It's code for something rude?
Disgusting.
Oh, really? Where children could hear. Anyway, he says, I'm sending you one of the new Royal Mail stamps featuring the Spice Girls. The idea being that you can turn it over and use the back of it to compile a list of all the people who find Rishi Slingback to be honest. Well, that would be Rishi Sunak. Anybody else? No. How many texts and emails have I got? Oh, God, so many. People, I think, are just sitting back with their feet up and they're just waggling their fingers at their thumbs at me on their phones. I don't know. Maybe they're still full from all of that eating and drinking,
booze.
But calls, not so much. Texts and tweets and emails, I'm up to my armpits with them. Lucy says, what's the betting that more British voters trust the lettist than the current Tory government?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, says an expert.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
There's nothing funny about it. Martin emails, I heard on the news that Rishi Sunak is squatting in number 10. I can't remember seeing him when he wasn't squatting. Do you mean to say he's been standing all this time? No, Rishi, don't get up. Oh, you already have. Eric in West London says the resignation from Chris Skidmore could be taken with a pinch of salt, as he was one of the famous 5 who wrote the book Britannia Unchained, along with Liz the Blundertruss, Crazy Kwarteng, Dominic Deckchair Raab, and Pretty Orfell. So what's his agenda, really? His fellow authors have made names for themselves on the right wing of the right-wing party, undermining the people of this country. Regards, says Eric in West London. Yeah, some nerve. These people...
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory. I don't support the Human Rights Act, and I don't believe in economic and social rights. My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
Yeah, I haven't made that up. He actually said that out loud. He put it in a video. They are saying the quiet part out loud. And they wrote that book, Britannia Unchained, which is essentially just a fruitcake's idea of where we can, where this country can go without rules or regulations. Essentially, it's one giant "I'm all right, Jack" whine. Why do we rich people have to put up with propping up the lives of people who have not made the intelligent decision to be born to rich parents, essentially? Wouldn't it be better if, all of these mouth-breathing morons who coincidentally vote for us didn't exist, and then we wouldn't have to pay for their NHS treatment while we are sitting in the luxury waiting room of our private hospital? Why do we, billionaires, have to pay for the upkeep of poor people? Wouldn't it be better if they just didn't exist, is essentially the nutshell of it. Let's get rid of the safety net, and then none of these people that are being saved by the safety net would be bothering us anymore. And then we'd be able to keep more of our money, and us rich people wouldn't have to pay tax, and, and corporations could rule the world efficiently. That's about the it of it, isn't it? And it only makes sense to people who have already made it, which is the nature of American politics, and increasingly the nature of the politics in this country as well. It's being written by people who have already made it, who are essentially blaming those who aren't rich for being lazy, instead of realising that their own wealth is down almost exclusively to luck, as is everything else in life. It's all luck. But those who have had great good fortune don't want to think like that. They want to believe that they have become rich and successful, not because their parents were rich and successful and they gave them a leg up by sending them to Eton and buying their house for them and introducing them to all the right people and, pushing them along as rich people can. They don't want to believe that had anything to do with it. No, it's my own hard work and innate genius that did it. And anybody that is not rich like I am, well, they only have themselves to blame. That's the essence of it. It's psychopathic, in a nutshell. This text from Barry says, Moncler jackets are very expensive. That's it. That's all he says. Well, yeah. I hope you're writing this stuff down, kids. That is, Moncler jackets are very expensive. That text from Barry. Worth taking note of. in case you accidentally blunder into a Moncler jackets shop and tell the assistant that you would like a couple. Always look at the price before buying. Watford, Enzo.
Hello.
Enzo.
Hello. Hi, Nick.
Enzo.
Hello. I've got a couple of short anecdotes for you. First one was just from... made me laugh, you saying about Zigga Ziggar there.
Yeah.
When I was a child, I was in a talent show.
You were in a what?
I was singing... a talent show. We were doing We Will Rock You, the musical.
Yeah.
And I was singing that song. I had to sing that song in it. And I was saying, sig a cigar. Because I thought, well, that's what the lyrics are.
Well, it makes more sense than Zigga Ziggar.
Well, you say that, but I was singing sig a cigar, and I was getting some funny looks from everyone. They were saying, are you saying sig a cigar? And I said, well, that's what it is, isn't it? They said, no, it's Zigga Ziggar. As if that was obvious.
Yeah. That's right, you idiot. Don't you know anything?
So that was just, that was a short one, made me laugh when you mentioned that. But I've actually got a tragic tale about how I've let the country down.
Oh, no.
I know. Missed an opportunity. So I'm an actor. In my downtime, I do a lot of barista work. And I work in a...
You mean you pour water through ground beans? Wow.
Yes, barista, trained barista maestro. No, so I work in a popular coffee chain.
Right.
And we're going back to the day before Sir Ella Braverman was sacked. And this woman walks into the coffee shop, and I'm looking at her, and I'm thinking, is that Sir Ella Braverman? She had her face down in her phone, as I would imagine she was receiving a lot of messages at the time. And I was thinking, is that Sir Ella Braverman? And I was thinking, it must be. I thought, no one's looking at her. No one's giving her a second look. So I started doubting myself. I went back into the staff room, went on Google Images. I was like, that is definitely her. I was thinking, my God, have I missed an opportunity to refuse to serve Sir Ella Braverman her small soy cappuccino?
Is that what she ordered, or are you just making that up?
It was a small soy cappuccino, yeah.
A small soy cappuccino. Oh,
yeah.
God.
And she ordered it with the most miserable face you've ever seen.
Yeah, well, that's her. It sounds like her.
It does, yeah. But I was thinking, my God, I can't believe, have I missed this opportunity? So I went home, and I was speaking to my auntie that night, and she said, oh, what was she wearing? Because I saw her on the news this morning. Sure enough, she was wearing the same suit that she described. So I've let myself down, I've let the country down, I've let you down, because I would have happily lost my job to either throw that coffee, boiling pot. Let's not be.
Just, I mean, is that one of those places where you write the name of the person whose coffee it is on the cup?
No, unfortunately not, and that would have been the giveaway. Unless maybe, I mean, at the time I wouldn't have blamed her for going under an alias.
C-R-U-E-L-L-A. That's what you should have written. C-R-U-E-L-L-A.
Precisely. So I'm sorry, everyone. I've let us all down there. Just on a side note, Nick, my mum loves your show. I lost her about a year and a half ago. She listened to you every night that you were on. She thought you were brilliant. I think you're brilliant. And you bring a smile to my face every time I listen. So thank you very much.
That's very nice, Enzo. And I'm looking upwards now. Thanks, Enzo's mum.
She can hear you.
Appreciate it.
She's going, rock and roll!
Thanks a lot, Enzo. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. We're big in heaven on this show. Huge. Nicky from Hatfield says, I know what you mean about Rish's puppy eyes, but I've always thought he resembles a pencil. Yes, a pencil. Am I going crazy, says Nicky. It looks like, I don't know, it looks more like a stick insect to me. But you can go with pencil if you like. I like James O'Brien's description of smug.
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
As a haunted pencil, which I think is just perfect. And I'm quite annoyed I didn't come up with that myself. But it doesn't mean to say I won't use it. Jay in Stain says those Canada Goose goose. They make them out of geese. Can you believe that? Poor little chucks. He says those Canada Goose jackets are £1,700.
What?
He says, you've got to be mad to wear one in London, especially when you consider how dirty the underground is. Well, yeah. That's right. I mean, if you're wearing a jacket that costs that much, that comes with a logo on the sleeve that alerts other people to how much that jacket costs, then, I don't know, does that count as contributory negligence? Lawyers will be able to clear that one up for us. That sounds like a lot of money to pay for a jacket that's made out of geese, doesn't it? Do they pluck the geese first, or do they just glue them together? It's just a question. I'm curious. This says, Nick, I'm trying to contemplate how annoying Titchy is going to be this year. I'm going to imagine him that he is turned into Sweep and Matthew Corbett will turn up to rehabilitate. Wow, that was... that was sort of light, but with dark undertones. I'm thinking of being disturbed. And a text from Julius says, Commander may seem a strange name for a dog. What dog? It does ring a bell. Is it Joe Biden's dog? It's shaking of heads from next door. Whose dog is it?
I'm pretty sure there was a case recently of an XL bully or something like that called Commander.
Oh. They're great with kids. You know, those people. Anyway, text from Julia says, Commander may seem a strange name for a dog, though for shouting to retrieve your pooch in a park, I've always thought that help or fire... That's pretty good. Help! Yeah, somebody should call their dog Help. Keep up the good work and Happy New Year, he says. That is excellent. Commander may seem a strange name for a dog. I've always thought that Help or Fire would be more alarming name choices. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hello, boys.
They opened their big mouths, and out came talk. Talk, talk.
This says, Nick, you can add an appendix in your yearbook called the A to Z of the Dead, listing those that we lost last year. Well, there was a lot of that, yeah. I do think that we almost managed to get through the year without a major A-list rock and roller dying. I mean, I know Jeff Beck died, but other than that, no absolutely huge stars. I mean, people from Bachman Turner Overdrive and, don't make me try to remember the list. But there wasn't anybody, like, massive. But there will be. Prepare yourself. Rhonda texts, I listened to all your shows and podcasts and loved the A to Z this year. I just wanted to let you know that M&S have the most delicious nectarines. I purchased some on Wednesday, ideal for your porridge. Nah, it's not nectarine season. That's the beauty about, well, one of the beauties of spring, is it's nectarine season. And then I changed from putting a pear in my porridge to nectarine. I look forward to that every year. So it wouldn't make it special if you could just buy any old time you like from M&S. Plus, I bet it costs an absolute blooming fortune, don't it? How much is a nectarine in M&S? And where do they get them from? Why do pears apples too. Apples, I don't know, there's something wrong with apples this year. They're a bit sort of... Oh, God. I think that was an apple coming back to kill me. Wait a minute. Oh. I just started dissing apples and one tried to murder me. I think that actually just happened. Wait a minute. Oh. Oh, God. That was a piece of apple that I'd had 2 hours ago that came back and tried to kill me live on the air just because I was criticising them. Can you believe that? I'm in great danger. Fruit is very dangerous.
Warning, warning.
But there's something wrong with... I continue this thought at great danger to my personal self. There's something wrong with apples this year. Now, I wonder if they're last year's apples that have been sitting in a warehouse somewhere having smoke blown all over them, or, some sort of poisonous unguent that they rest in that stops them from ripening and going off. I think it is. I think that's true, because, apples, there's only like a month when apples are fresh off the tree. The rest of the year, you confidently eat an apple, despite the fact that it may come back and try to kill you. And you've got absolutely no idea how it's got to you. I mean, where's it been? If you eat an apple in August, that means it's probably it's probably like over a year old. How do they do that? Why am I asking you? You don't know. And pears, the same. What is it with these fruits that arrive, even though they say it's perfectly ripe, something like that. This fruit is perfect in every way. Ripe and ready to eat. No, it's not ripe and it's ready to bang nails in walls if you've lost your hammer. And they just sit there, solid as a rock, and then overnight they go off, like straight away. They must have some sort of poison that they sit in some giant warehouse somewhere, and they must be there for months, if not a year or more, before they arrive at, in your shopping basket. Because they're not fresh off the tree, are they? No matter where they come from in the world. Anyway, nectarines are for spring. Not now, spring. And by the way, the podcasts are available of the A to Z. If you didn't hear the A to Zs, then they are all available as podcasts. They're part of the feed that is called Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. Now, if you've got a stupid smart speaker, then that's a piece of cake. The magic phrase is play Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. Because the Friday and the Saturday night shows, like this tonight and tomorrow's, they get put up as a podcast. But all of the A to Z shows, they're available there as well. And some of it's funny. I mean, there's one particular moment when a certain individual called in, and it was just hilarious. Jonathan from wherever he's from, I can't remember where he's from now, Harrow or somewhere like that. Anyway, some character he calls in every now and again. And it's just off the scale funny. It was one of the funniest moments of the whole year on these shows. I think it's on GH and I can't be 100% certain, but it's there or thereabouts. But all of them are available. If you want to listen to any of the A to Z, then you can. It's available as a podcast, each show. And it's only on Global Player, by the way. Now, if you've got Global Player, that's fine. You'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, it's free, and you can get it from your App Store or globalplayer.com. And with that, you can listen to all of the stations that we do. Classic FM, that's available on there, and then they've just changed their digital feed. I have no idea what I'm talking about now, but I'm not really up with technicalities. But they've changed their digital feed to DAB Plus or something like that. Anyway, it's changed. Get it on the app, easy. globalplayer.com or your favourite app store, and you'll get Global Player on there. And that's where to get these podcasts of the Friday and Saturday night shows and the A to Z of 2020 2023. Those shows over Christmas, they're all on podcast there as well. Nick Abbot, The Whole Show Podcast. That's what to look for. West Devon. Hello, Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Rose.
Yeah, West Thingamabob. It's just two little stories, really. But first of all, it was the Biden's dog, Commander. He was a rescue dog.
Right.
Yeah, I got all sorts of information about him from a friend who's an animal person. Anyway, never mind that. Well, the first is dogs' names. There was a writer on The Guardian, you'll remember. She's been retired a long time, but called Nancy Banks Smith, it happens to be. And she was actually the television reviewer, but she did write other articles as well. And fortunately, I've got this one. It's absolutely marvellous. She lived on the Isle of Dogs, you know, the East End of London.
The Isle of Dogs?
Yes, funnily enough, yeah. But this story is about a dog, because she was walking about one day, and there was this poor little soul.
Oh.
He'd got a broken leg, limping away.
Oh.
And and anyway, one assumes that she ascertained he didn't belong to anybody, but he hobbling about with a broken leg, he clearly didn't really. And she got him home, and he was a little black dog, and when she'd washed him, he was a little brown dog. And she thought, what shall I call him?
Yeah.
And
well, don't call him what people used to call black dogs. Warning! Don't do that.
Oh, God, they did, didn't they?
They did, yes.
Oh, no, I was thinking of Satan. You mean the other one? Oh, I know. Yes, well, never mind.
Satan. Satan.
The first thing that came to mind, oddly enough. I mean,
Satan. I'm not sure that's a great name for a dog, but it would suit a specific type of dog, I think.
Yes. Anyway, this little soul, so she thought, well, she found him on Eric Street, so I'll call him Eric, she thought. If he had hobbled a little further, he'd have had to be called Montmorency after Montmorency Street, so that wouldn't have been very good.
No.
But it was tricky enough, because she let him... It was marvellous, actually, this piece, because people's dogs seem to roam about and have a wonderful time together and then just sort of come home, rather like children did, you know, when I was a child.
Yeah.
Just sort of go off and enjoy themselves and come back, and that's what the dogs on the Isle of Dogs seem to be doing. And so she'd go out to call her, and she'd call Eric, whereupon various chaps of a certain age would suddenly appear, like coming down scaffolding and popping up from holes in the ground.
Wanting their dinner.
Board.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's people called Eric in those days, so that was a little bit of a problem. And one time she was out calling him in the night time, very plaintively. And no, it can't have been the night time, can it? Because what happened was this chap actually came down from scaffolding, and because he was called Eric, and said, oh, I thought somebody wanted me, you know. And she said, oh, well, I've lost my little dog, that sort of thing. So anyway, it's a wonderful piece. If you can get hold of it, it's just great. The other thing is, Nick, can I go on to something else quickly?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's about this business of inheritance. Well, actually, first of all, I thought, you know, the whole Bible thing, the meek shall inherit the earth, it's not that way at all, is it?
No.
The wealthy are inheriting the earth because they've already bought most of it.
Yeah, they've got it already,
I do feel that people with land, you know, who are born into landed families and that sort of thing, I think there's a sense, which they don't even question, or they don't even think about, that somehow their genes are superior,
yes.
You know, rather like breeding racehorses.
Born to rule.
Yes, whatever they might do. And I had a neighbour who was of that sort, and I don't know why I went to see her, because, she was my landlady, so I suppose I felt I had to. And it was always this same sort of thing. And she knew a politician, this was years ago, who happened to also be a doctor, and had trained partly with the help of her husband, who was a doctor himself. And she said, I mean, really, she said, it was born in, the back streets of Somerset, wherever it was, and it went to a slum school, and somehow and I thought to myself, he must have done all right, because if he hadn't got the A levels, he wouldn't be able to go to medical school, would he? But she said, I just think he was out of his depth, because when he came to be with my husband and with people, he didn't know which crockery to use, which knife and fork to put in the right. He was out of his depth. He should never have been a doctor. This is how these people think.
Yeah. Well, they set traps.
Regardless of the man's brain.
Yeah, they set traps, and they do it with place names as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like Fanshawe is actually spelt feather and shore, but you just drop, half of the letters in the word, which catches out the unawares. Yes,
I see what you mean.
Grockles.
Yeah.
And the same thing with which crockery to use and which glass is for water and all that nonsense that they just set traps for those people who haven't been to Eton or Radley.
All this trivia, basically. Yeah. They set traps of trivia for people to fall into.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter how...
Yeah, and how low you curtsy and how, which way to pass the port and all that silly nonsense.
There was a rather nice story I read somewhere years ago, actually, which was slightly different, about Vic. Do you remember the name Vic Feather, trade unionist of some sort?
Yeah.
And he'd been invited to high table in one of the Oxford colleges, and he said, all sort of innocent and naively, "Oh, do you know, I don't know what sort of accent he had. It wouldn't be like I'm speaking, would it? It wasn't. He said, I've found this wonderful book where you can look up a word and it gives you all sorts of other words for that word and related and synonyms. And it's called Thesaurus. And, of course, everybody round the table, they'd known that since they were kids. But they were all a little bit embarrassed and just tried to be awfully nice about it, which is a different thing, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that
was quite a nice story.
Well, exactly. I mean, what you just described there is not what we were talking about at all. We were talking about dreadful, awful, horrible people who have been trained their entire life because they just got lucky that they have somehow been delivered to us by heaven above and have the right to rule based on what? What their parents inherited from their parents.
I mean, it's just so mind-bogglingly moronic, isn't it, apart from anything else?
This country, I mean, we have got to get out of this sort of feudal nature of this cap-doffing nature of the British people. I mean, as a country, we've got to grow out of it, all this silly dressing up nonsense. And everyone gets a badge and a funny name, and it's zero based on ability or worth or merit.
There's no substance in anything anymore, is there? No substance.
I'm thinking of becoming upset, Rose. I could be upset, but I've decided to be depressed instead. How does that sound? Thanks for that.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Here are the studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
Yes, this one is from Osaka in Japan. Hello, John.
Hi, Nick. Just got a point I'd like to raise about Cruella Doberman. Specifically, do you remember she was banging on about people eating tofu?
Tofu eating, Guardian reading, tofu eating wokarati. Yeah.
Okie dokie. Wokey cokies, yeah. And then, well, first, I remember just a little while ago, was it Enzo said he saw her drinking a soy drink, which is
That's
which
a
is
good
tofu,
point.
right?
Yes, guilty.
Yeah. And then, secondly, living here in Japan, right? Japan's quite a right-wing country, like pretty. There's a lot of nationalism and like very, very anti-immigration.
Right.
And tofu is massive over here. Everyone loves tofu.
That's right.
You go in the supermarket, it takes up about half the shop.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, I just wanted to raise that as a point of contention.
Two excellent points of contention.
Yeah.
Well delivered. Good man.
I've got another thing I'd like to ask you.
Yes.
That's all right. I keep hearing people saying, "Oh, this is a shower, that was a shower, everything's a shower,"
Yeah.
when they're complaining about something. I haven't been in the UK for about 8 years, so maybe I'm behind the times, but where's that come from? Is that a recent thing? And, like, why is a shower a bad thing now?
I don't know how it started, but it's not a recent thing because I associate... oh, God, I can't believe I've just forgotten this guy's name. He's a classic old British comedy actor, very upper class, who had a gap in front of his two front teeth. He was around about the same time as the Carry-Ons, and a little bit before as well.
Kenneth Williams?
No. No,
not him. Okay,
way too posh. Posher than that. It was... who am I thinking of? Do you know who it is? No, you're too young. Way too young.
I don't know.
He was in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. English.
Oh.
Very, very English. Terry Thomas.
Terry Thomas.
Terry Thomas
Okay,
always used to call people an absolute char. So that's where I get it from.
Okay, I accept that and will no longer object when I hear it. And then finally, another point, if I can stretch my luck a bit further. The first time I heard your show, I was shocked because...
you thought...
Because
yeah.
Until I heard your show, I basically thought LBC was a never-ending radio version of that BBC show Question Time, just news punctuated by members of the public saying opinions.
Yeah, it's a news talk station. Yeah.
And then I turned you on, you said some kind of sarcastic comment, and there was sound effects. And I thought, I immediately texted my LBC friend. I said, I think there's a presenter who's gone rogue. I think he's taken over the station. They're going to shut it down.
I've locked myself in, and I'm in control.
Yeah. So that was quite a nice shock, though. I was slightly disappointed to find out it was sort of, that's what the plan is, but I enjoy it anyway. And I think LBC should have more sort of slightly humorous or light-hearted shows. Anyway, that's all I've got for today.
All right, good man. Thanks a lot, John. Osaka in Japan, and that line was clear as a bell. I can't believe it. Nothing works in this country. There was a report out in the Financial Times, which I didn't read all of because it's behind a paywall. And, I don't have enough money to get a subscription to the Financial Times. I just don't. But they were saying that we, in this country, had the slowest 5G speeds in the G7. In other words, of all the richest countries in the world, our mobile connectivity is the slowest. Nothing works here, does it? Nothing. Think of one thing that actually works perfectly, that we rely on. The NHS? No. The trains? No. The tube? No. The sewerage? No. The phone lines? No. What do we rely on that actually works well in this country? Think of one single thing. I double dare you. Hell, some minister told us to stock up on on candles the other day because the lights might go out. And believe them when they say it. This isn't going to please the people whose houses have just flooded. The number of properties that will be better protected from flooding by 2027 has been cut by 40%. And 500 of the 2,000 new flood defence projects have been abandoned by this government. The number of homes forecast to be under enhanced flood protection by 2027 has been slashed by 136,000. That is 136,000 more homes will be at risk of flooding since the plans were drawn up in 2020. Why? Money. The Environment Agency has blamed inflation for the cuts in protection. They are going to spend £5.2 billion, but now they claim that it's not going to cover the extra 136,000 more homes. That inflation has cut their ability to protect your home by a quarter, which is very interesting because inflation has not been running at 25%. I mean, we're not Argentina. If they cut the building of flood defences by a quarter and blamed inflation, which has been 10% at most. Where's the rest of the money gone? Thousands of homes have been flooded during storms this autumn. Storm Abbot was confirmed to have caused more than 2,000 homes to flood. Storm Kieran flooded 1,000. And the Environment Agency has added protection from floods to 59,000 properties in England since 2010. It had a target of protecting 336,000 by 2027. They've protected 59,000. The target's 336,000. Do we think they're going to make that?
No.
No. Where's the money gone? A shortfall in the agency's finances means it cannot keep enough flood protections in the required condition to prevent destruction to homes. Nothing works in this country. Nothing that we rely on works in this country. Name one thing that does. I double dare you. Due to inflation, the Environment Agency is £34 million short of its expected budget, which means it will be able to maintain only about 94% of its assets in the required condition, resulting in 203,000 properties at increased risk of flooding. 203,000. Because they're £34 million short. For want of 34 million quid, 203,000 people, families are at risk of having their homes flooded. For want of £34 million. Do you know what this government bought for £34 million? A makeover for the Education Secretary's office. I'm not making that up. In a building that already exists, this government spent £34 million of your money tarting up Gillian Bloomin' Keegan's office. Let that sink in. And remember it whenever the regime tells you that they only care about saving the money of the little people.
The little people. But it ain't like you think. It ain't leprechauns, don't you see? It's little men from Mars or somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
And it ain't a toadstool there under. It's a spaceship.
Caroline Lucas, the Green Party MP, said this report should be right at the top of the new Environment Secretary Steve Barclay's red box. Steve Barclay?
Oh, no.
He said, Caroline Lucas said, it lays bare the scale of a minister's unforgivable neglect of this flooding crisis. Just weeks after huge numbers of homes were hit by devastating flooding, people are crying out for support and protection, yet this government has utterly failed to provide it. And to add insult to injury, thousands more are expected to be unprotected from flooding risk in the years ahead. Correctamundo, Caroline Lucas, out of the Greenies.
Groovy.
The Groovy Greenies. 34 million quid, the same amount of money they spent on tarting up the Education Secretary's office, they say that is the reason that they can't protect over 200,000 people from having their homes flood. 34 million quid, the same amount that they spent on tarting up Gillian Keegan's bloomin' office. A spokesperson for the government said, "Don't question us, peasant." They didn't. They said, the government's priority is to make the difficult but necessary long-term decisions for the country. Well, I believe them. I mean, they sound very believable.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello.
0345 6060 973. Aberdeenshire. Catherine. Oh, hello.
Hi. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
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 Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. I was just going to agree with you from about 45 minutes ago on the thickness of apple skins.
Yeah. And they're spongy inside. They're not like proper apples anymore.
Yeah.
It's like they've kept their shape, but they've rotted on the inside. I mean, not rotted exactly, but they've gone soft.
That's just what I was going to say. Firstly, if you eat them within a few weeks so they haven't gone rotten inside, the skin is ridiculously thick.
Yeah.
It's not like normal apple skin. It's, I don't know what it is, waxy or... But then if you leave them too long, they shrivel, like you say, from the inside. The skin might look almost all right.
Uh-huh.
You cut into it,
spongy.
And it's yucky brown.
Yeah, icky.
So whether it's poisonous, the stuff on the skin. I don't know.
Well, I always, if it's an apple or something else that's got like a waxy skin, I always wash it with. No, because bleach. Not even I would use bleach. No, washing up liquid.
Donald Trump might.
A little squirt of washing up liquid, and then you can wash all that disgusting wax off. What do you mean?
Maybe. Not convinced.
Well, Catherine, you would use it on your dishes. Why not your apple?
Yes, I know. I don't like. You'd have to rinse it well. You don't get the sloppy taste, and the covering of some of the skins that I've seen are so shiny. I don't think soap would. I don't know what it is.
Well, let me put it to you like this: apples grow in an orchard, or people are paid to go and pick those apples. If in the middle of the day they need a pea, do you think that they're going to traipse all the way back to the farmhouse and miss their quota? Or are they going to find the nearest tree, of which there will be loads? It's an orchard, and they're going to pee there and not wash their hands, and then go straight back to picking the apples off the tree. Yeah,
disgusting.
Exactly. A little bit of
the other thing
washing up liquid takes all that ick away. Trust me.
Okay, I'll think about it. I do always wash them. I always give them
water
a good rinse and water, but not.
But that ain't going to do nothing. Water cannot get wax off and sticky finger marks and all the rest of it.
And anything else.
Yeah.
The other quick thing, I have got a new recruit to your show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
My friend Sue, and I know she's listening.
Who's Sue?
I said you have to listen to Nick. Sue, my friend.
Oh.
We'll leave it at that. She's listening. And the other very quick thing, talking about dogs' names with human names.
Yeah.
It made me think a long time ago I had a Jack Russell called Daisy, and she was staying at my parents' house. For some reason, my dad was calling her in. I don't know what she was doing, whether she was barking or whether she was digging in the garden or something. The next door neighbour, who was probably well in her 70s by then, we called her Auntie Marjorie. She wasn't an auntie, but you did in those days, didn't you?
Yeah.
Was hanging washing out, and my dad goes to call Daisy because she ignored him the first time, so it was a bit more force this time. Instead of shouting Daisy, he shouted Marjorie, really loud, Marjorie. And she really nearly jumped out of the skin, apparently.
Poor
but it
dear.
was really funny at the time.
Dropped her pegs and her undercranks.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Catherine. Thanks a lot, Sue. Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. This text says, Nick, I need to quickly check how heebie-jeebies is spelt, please. Thanks. Text from Will says, the best thing for Britain is for Rishi Sunak to have a full 2 years as Prime Minister on his CV. Then we can have a general election. Why? Why have we got to suffer 2 years? And what's he got to do with his CV? He don't need no CV. He can waltz into any old job he likes. And I'm sure he will. Many of them. All at the same time. There'll be those jobs that you don't actually have to show up for. They just pay you anyway. Those jobs. A lot of ex-ministers seem to have a lot of those, isn't it? Don't they? Isn't it? Don't they? Curious. They just seem to, do a lot of favours for friends while they're in power, and then coincidentally go and work, he said, waggling his fingers in the air to denote inverted commas around the word work for those companies. It's just that those jobs don't actually exist. They don't need to, show up. They just get the pay. Curious how that works. Strange. York. Hello, Claire.
Hello.
Claire.
What I wanted to talk to you about was an interview I watched last night on Newsnight with Bob Seeley.
Oh.
I know he does have a bit of sort of verbal scrambled egg, sort of diarrhea talk.
Did it sound like this? Yeah.
Very much so. Just prior to him coming on, Victoria Derbyshire interviewed Thangam Debonair, the Labour MP, who was just pointing out the failures, as you did before the news, of the Tory government over the last 14 years. And then Bob Seeley came on and said, well, everything Thangam said is lies and spin, and I'm about to speak in a very straightforward, honest way with you.
Right.
And then proceeded to list all the wonderful things that the Conservatives had done, starting, of course, with the vaccine, which is the
Oh, my God, you are kidding me. They're still pulling that one out?
Yeah.
Holy smoke. You should, there should be some sort of, like a shepherd's crook that comes in from the side of the screen and just yanks those people out as soon as they have the nerve to say that. The only reason that we had the vaccine rollout is because we left the European Union. I cannot believe that these people are still saying that.
I know, it's awful. And then he said something about children being the best. They'd made children the best readers, but then he got into such a tangle and desperate state of wanting to think of. He said, "I could go on for hours." He said, "I could go on for hours telling you things." And in that desperate state, he said, "And we have brought in modern slavery."
Well, when they tell you who they are, believe them the first time. That's exactly what they've done.
And then he said, and we have cleaned up the environment.
Wow.
I thought...
Good to know.
I nearly choked. I thought, what with? Sewage sieve or something? I mean, honestly, they really take us for idiots.
They do, yes. And knowing that, there's at least 30% of us who do respond to this kind of nonsense, who would actually would fit that description. Idiots.
I know.
But the number of those people are getting smaller by the day. You know what? He's the MP for the Isle of Wight, though, isn't he? I mean, you could put a turnip in there and put a blue rosette on it and it would win.
I know, yeah. I just want to say something else as well. I called up during the A to Z and said that 2023 we'd learned that misogyny was alive and kicking, and it seems that we've started 2024 as we mean to go on with Sean Bailey.
I know.
Saying that women, basically women who have boobs, can't have political opinions.
Yeah. I mean, either you've got big boobs or you are a thinking human being. Pick one, which essentially is... I know.
It's very, very sad.
Yeah, well, it's worse than that, Claire. Just look up the other things that he's said, but pour yourself a stiff drink before you do it. All right.
Okay.
Okay, cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Is it okay for me to say cheers, my dear? It's just a habit. Text from Will says, the best thing for Britain... No, I've read that one. Linda from Cambridge says, we are all supposed to eat less and move more, so the junior doctors should be thanking us. What does that mean? We're all supposed to eat less and move more, so the junior doctors should be thanking us. I don't get it. Maybe it's because I'm stupid. Lossymouth. Rachel.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hello.
Try to take you off speaker.
Yes, take me off loudspeaker. Good, thanks, Rachel.
Well, do you know about the cloud bunch, about the nuclear reports that they've not released since 2019, the safety nuclear reports?
What?
Yes, correct. They've taken them off the website about nuclear safety. So not only you might be getting a bit of poo down south,
yes,
in your water, but in our area we've got degrading nuclear submarines, and we've no idea what they're not releasing any of these reports. So when you think it.
Well, that's alarming.
This is astonishing.
I mean, under the present circumstances, you would have to assume the worst.
Well, I mean, why would you withhold that information? I find that quite astonishing.
Why is Mr. Blobby withholding the information of the amount of booze that he got through during his brief tenure at Number 10?
Yeah. Are you talking about Boris?
Yeah.
It's 2019. It's happened since. So why would you do that?
Mystifying.
It's something that I'm just... And obviously we're a fishing industry on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Around by that area and stuff like that. So are we eating radiated fish or something like that?
Well, if the fish on your plate has 3 eyes, then that is a sign.
Well, I am a bit concerned about that as well. You know, I mean, a lot of Scottish people have been accused of that and a lot more. And we don't need any more problems thrown in our direction.
Exactly. All right. Well, thanks for the warning there, Rachel. You can't say you haven't been told. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Craig in London says, if doctors weren't on strike, none of these floods would have happened. That's right. It's lefty activist doctors who have caused these floods. No! Yeah, thanks a lot, doctors. See what you've done? I mean, if it's not them, then it's got to be Meghan, hasn't it? You know, out of Hazard and Sparkles. She hasn't been on the front pages of the newspapers, because she smiled while some people in the world are suffering. Look at her smiling with her teeth and her hair. They haven't put a front page of her, being accused of having a nice time while other people in the world are suffering, because we're only in the 5th day of the year. Give them a while, they'll do it. 0345 6060 973. Let's see now. Canada. Nick.
Oh, hi, Nick. I was going to ring up for your list of events of the year, but then I thought to myself, Conservative incompetence and negotiations after Brexit doesn't really count for a single year.
No.
That should be like for the list of the decade.
Permanent, yes.
But I did want to ring up because you've gone on a little bit about British access to... British cheddar's access or British cheese's access to the Canadian market, and how shocked and amazed people in Britain are that Canada is actually not allowing Britain to have access to its market without paying I think it's 150% tariff.
Something like that, yeah. They make it unaffordable, basically, because it will sit alongside other more locally sourced cheeses, and people will think, well, why on earth would I pay that?
Well, it's actually so expensive it doesn't sit alongside the
right,
local
they just
cheeses.
don't stock it. Right, yeah,
you have to go to a cheese shop, and it's a sort of special once-a-year treat, because I like English cheddar, and it is better than Canadian cheddar, there's no doubt about it. But the reality is Canada was locked in a 35-year dispute with the United States, literally over access to our dairy market.
Really?
It was a bitter, grim fight. It still hasn't finished. It damn near derailed NAFTA.
Huh.
We held up CETA for 3 years, quite literally to stop English cheddar from coming into the Canadian market. About the strongest trade organisation in Canada is the Ontario Dairy Producers Association.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to be a particular expert to look this up. You could just look up Dairy Market Canada on Google search, and it will tell you that Canada is absolutely grimly determined not to allow any other cheddar onto its market. And cheddar specifically. We didn't care about Brie or Roquefort or all the French cheeses because they're not that popular here.
Yeah. Well, what is the most popular cheese in this area, Squire? Ilchester. It's staggeringly popular around this manor. Is it?
I mean, it saddens me because I've got two choices now. I can drive down to the Costco in the United States to get cheddar down there, which I do once a month anyway. Yeah. So I'll probably end up buying a month's worth of cheddar at a time. Or alternatively, like I said, I can go to a specialist shop and pay about $30 a pound.
Oh, go to the specialist shop, Nick. There's some things that are worth buying. You don't have to buy a massive amount of it, just a little bit. Treat yourself. You're worth it.
Then they occasionally have Cornish yarg at the same time, which I do particularly like.
So
we
yummy.
don't see much of that here, and we won't see any of that after this. I know that. So I am disappointed. But yeah, the idea that anyone... And the fact that they were boasting about ease of access means presumably they actually believed that Canada was going to be an easy market to get English dairy products into, which is astounding.
The attitude is, well, we're British, damn it. Why don't you just do what we say? That's the nature of our negotiations.
African or Asian, so you would think that they would at least assume that we might fight back a little.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Nick. I'll see you down at the Morbier stand. That's the thing with farming, is that you can be all for free trade and all of that stuff, and you can like cheeses from here, there, and everywhere, baby. But you really do need milk, particularly, and probably eggs too, to come from where you live. I mean, protectionism is necessary regarding some businesses, particularly those that provide the food that we eat the most. I mean, it's no good, as we are increasingly doing, is relying on other countries to provide our food for us. I mean, what little farming we've got left, we should cling on to, because we will miss it when it's gone.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. I can't believe where the time's gone. Heston, Isaac.
Hello, Nick.
Isaac.
Hello, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Right. 3 things, so I'll try and get through them quickly. Number 1, there's a jingle you have. It's my favourite jingle. Always tickles me when I hear it. I don't know what it's called or where you got it from, but it goes like this, it goes, that one. That's the one.
Wow, you've got to have a laugh, ain't you?
I'm telling you, it just, every time I hear it, it brings a smile to my face. I suppose it sort of reminds me a little bit of myself at school back in the 70s.
Right. Well,
Anyway.
I'm just trying to spread the HAPPY-ness. I'm doing my bit.
Number 2. A conversation you had with a previous caller about the feudal system, where she said they set traps and trivia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think she was from the Isle of Dogs, or something like that. Yeah.
She had a tale from somebody who was from the Isle of Dogs. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Personally.
Okay. That's right. Yeah. Anyway,
but she's right, though, isn't she? Yeah.
Absolutely, and you mentioned, you said we've got to give up this feudal system, and that reminds me of one of my favourite Monty Python sketches from the life of Brian. It's called The Peasant Sketch. Yeah, it's where it's you can find it on YouTube. It's Monty Python Peasant Sketch.
Okay, well, you have to leave that with me, because I'm not going to... I've dabbled for a couple of lines of the Cheese Shop sketch, which are probably misremembered, but I'm definitely not going to do that one. But they do.
Okay.
They call places names that catch out the unwary, the non-you, like Bewley, for instance. B-E-A-U-L-I-E-U. So they've put all of those letters in there, and then they take over half of them away and introduce completely different letters for the pronunciation of it. It should be Bo-Liu, but it's not. It's Bewley. It's almost like the 2 syllables are opposite each other. Or where Princess Di is buried. Althorpe. No, not Althorpe. A-L-T-H-O-R-P. Althorpe, right? Wrong. Not Althorpe. Althrup. Why? What sense does that make? None at all. Anyway.
Finally, very quickly.
Yes.
There was something I heard on LBC, right, and I looked it up online. It was in the Telegraph, right, and some guy wrote in the Telegraph that the chief executives of Britain, deserve a pay rise for all their hard work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I looked it up quickly. I've forgotten the guy's name, but anyway, it said that the average chief executive in Britain already earns 57 times the average salary. So I thought to myself, hang on a second, so right, okay, let's take a ballpark figure. Let's say 35,000 for the sake of the argument is the average salary, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Times that by 57, that is, it's 1,999,000 a year.
I like the way you said that, as though you were just thinking that up off the top of your head, and you hadn't calculated that beforehand and written it down on a piece of paper.
I did.
35,000 times, what did you say it was? How many, what's the multiple?
57.
I think it's way more than 57, but that's about £2 million a year.
That's right, yeah. And this guy says chief executives deserve more. I'm thinking...
And because it's 57, by the way, that does mean that now, already, this year, they have earned, the average CEO has earned what the average person working in their company will earn for the whole year. They have already earned that.
That's right, yes, that's right, yeah. It's just, and the thing is, right, it's, I mean, to finish off quickly, without the rest of us, without the greater population or the masses...
Correct, yes. Without
they wouldn't be wealthy.
Yeah, without the little people creating the wealth, they who sit at the top of the tree, would not be able to accrue all that wealth by essentially turning the rest of us into... like modern-day slaves, like we were talking about earlier on. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks a lot, Isaac. Keep your eyes peeled. You can't let them... you can't close them for a moment. Not with this lot. Let's see now. Southall, Aggie.
Hi, Nick.
Aggie.
Very quickly, I was listening to you, like when you're saying that nothing works in this country.
Yes.
I've got 2 examples of what works very well in this country. Which first of them was when I moved to the brand new built property. Only rented. I'm not that rich.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not register myself to pay council tax or any bills at that time because their postcode or address wasn't recognised just yet because it was so new.
Oh, right, okay.
But yet, to my surprise, I found a letter in my letterbox with my name on it, and it was TV license querying if I have paid my license.
Wow. So they knew where you lived even before the place where you lived was put on a map. It was that new.
Exactly.
Blimey.
How impressive that is.
That is excellent
work. Not to mention I have not had a TV in 14 years, including the actual unit. I just don't watch it.
Well, that doesn't mean that they won't continue to send you letters, Aggie, but probably in increasing amounts of red on them. Thanks for that. I've got to go. 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 Thanks for that.